passengers will find their baggage in the...
Anybody meeting you?
I'm not sure.
You're not sure? You know, this is very frustrating. It's most unfair.
Unfair?
I've filled in all the blank spaces for you. I've told you the story of my life, and all I know about you is your name. Now, come on. Macau to Hong Kong. 4 hours on this seagoing lunch bucket, and all I know is your name?
I've enjoyed meeting you, Mr. Evans. You've made the trip very pleasant.
Well, that's why we can't say goodbye. You've no idea how entertaining I can be on dry land. Listen, before I drop you off at your hotel, paralyzed with merriment, how about a late supper?
Thank you, but I'm afraid not.
I know just the place. The Golden Dragon. It has exactly the right atmosphere.
I've only known you for 4 hours, Mr. Evans.
4 hours and 10 minutes.
You're quite practiced at this sort of thing, aren't you?
In your case, I really want to get better acquainted. No strings attached.
None at all?
Not a thread.
All right.
Any luggage for customs, miss?
A steamer trunk. Do I have to wait until it's cleared?
No, I can have it cleared for you through a customs broker.
Let him do that, just there'll be a jam for cabs.
Very well, Stuart.
Let's get off before the rush.
Chung-che!
Oh, how foolish of me. I forgot to give the steward the key to my trunk. I'll be right back.
Okay. Dang yak chon la.
Vera! Vera?
Too sure, Neil. Like I told you on the phone, there's this lady in a checkered cape. She fired a couple of shots from about there, and then she ran away.
Do you know what or whom she was firing at?
Could have been shooting at guppies for all I know. Then again, there may be a body down there somewhere.
Inspector, I found this over there. Was she wearing this?
No.
Mr. Stirling, you better contact the Marine Division.
Yes,
Let them take a look around down there. Now, this lady to whom you've been referring, do you know her?
Met her this afternoon on the ferry from Macau. Her name's Vera Graham.
Do you know anything about her?
She's attractive.
Yes, and?
And that's all.
Oh, come off it, Glenn. You spent 4 hours on the ferry with an attractive woman, and that's all you know.
Sad but true. Listen, I got a cab waiting with the meter running, okay?
All right, we'll talk later. See you.
Steward?
Yes, sir?
Excuse me, the passenger in cabin 12, Miss Vera Graham.
Oh, yes, Miss Graham.
Yeah, what happened to her trunk? Where did you send it?
I'm very sorry, sir. I checked, but Miss Graham had no trunk. She had no baggage at all.
You sure of that?
Quite sure.
Thanks.
I believe you mentioned an associate, Mr. Tyndall, Miss Graham. You may speak freely in front of Fuji. He is not interested in assassins.
So I told you over the phone it had nothing to do with the assassination. I'm a photographer. I take pictures and I sell them.
Well, I am sure of your background, Mr. Tyndall, but Miss Graham, what does she do?
Vera? She's just a friend of mine.
I should like to know more about her before we continue this discussion.
Why?
I make it a point to investigate everyone who seeks my services and their associates. I have found it to be good business.
Oh, I met her in some little place in Macau a few months ago, and we became interested in each other.
From what I know of you, Mr. Tyndall, I imagine your interest was purely mercenary, but can you trust her?
Can I trust her? She loves me. Sure, I can trust her. Now, look, Borg, let's get down to business. Do you want to handle the sale for me or not?
But you have never employed a go-between before. What is so unusual about this particular photograph?
I took this picture at the dedication of the new state hospital. It clearly shows the assassin killing the minister.
Dr. Forbes?
Being an American in a country like Najapa is dangerous these days.
Was the assassin Dr. Forbes, as the papers say?
No.
And you are saying that the eyewitnesses who accused Dr. Forbes deliberately lied?
That's exactly what I'm saying. Dr. Forbes is an American who was supervising the installation of X-ray equipment in the new hospital. He just happened to be standing near the minister when he was killed and conveniently blamed.
For what purpose?
Oh, to intimidate the pro-American factions of the Najapur government. Makes good copy for propaganda.
Mr. Tyndall, why did you bring your picture to me? Why not approach the British and American press services and offer it to the highest bidder?
Because I want to name my own figure. And there's only one place where I can do it. The Chinese Information Agency.
That would be a very difficult transaction.
The Reds will pay any price I name. Suppress that photo and keep it.
What about Dr. Forbes?
What about?
You would send an innocent man to his death?
That's life, Borg. Look, I told you before, I take photos and I sell them. Now, do you want to handle the sale for me, or do I have to go someplace else, huh?
This is something I should have to consider very carefully. There are certain risks.
Okay, I'm going to wait outside and cool off before I melt.
Glenn?
Jingmei?
Well, pull up a drink and tell me your adventures.
An account of yours would be more to the point.
Huh? What do you mean?
She just came in asking for you.
Is she wearing a checkered cape?
Quite beautiful and wearing a checkered cape.
Honey, keep her there. I'll be right over.
Give me one reason why I should.
That girl has a story.
Oh, don't they all?
No, seriously. Look, the police are looking for her, and I just keep her out of sight until I get there, all right?
Police? No, thanks. I don't want any trouble.
Now, please, Ching Mei, I just want to get a story before the police reporters get a crack at it. Please, team, some. I'll be right there, huh?
Oh, all right, Glenn. But hurry.
Mr. Tyndall, I have decided to accept your proposition for 50% of the selling price.
You'll take 25.
You don't understand the difficulty of arranging such a...
All right, I'll just go someplace else.
There is no place else. Mr. Tyndall, apart from Miss Graham, who else saw you take this photograph?
And possibly Ann Forbes, the doctor's daughter.
Where is that girl now?
At her father's side, pleading his innocence.
Did you bring that photograph here with you?
Before leaving Najapur, I made a new negative, developed through a clear sheet of polarized film. Here, I'll show you. This is the result. The light rays have been bent, but when this is viewed through its companion piece of polarized film, it becomes a clear shot of the assassin in the act.
Bent light rays, polarized film. What is all this hocus pocus, Mr. Tyndall?
I'll call it a precaution. After all, when I walked in here, I really didn't know you. Let's say I used an old technique to protect my interests. Mainly to protect couriers who smuggle intelligence photos. You see, one takes a negative like this, and the other takes the polarized film through which it was exposed. They travel by different routes.
So if either of them is picked up, he is carrying nothing which can incriminate him.
Exactly. That's why Vera and I traveled separately.
Very ingenious. And this Miss Graham with the counterpart to this negative, where is she now?
She's coming in from Macau with it.
When?
Well, she was doing some time today, but I don't know what's delayed her.
I think I will make a few inquiries.
Wonderful. You got talent, pal.
Your story's in the alcove.
Siberia?
But private, isn't that what you wanted?
You mad at me, Pear Blossom? My dear Miss Graham.
Mr. Evans?
Well, you've been pretty elusive, haven't you? Don't you know it's against the law to fire a gun in public and then run away into the darkness? You've been making the police very suspicious.
Why don't you turn me in?
Well, that's exactly what I intend doing, but I must have my story first.
Is that your only interest? My story?
So far. What did the scene want?
That doesn't matter now.
Oh, come now. Can you imagine how that's going to look in print? Beautiful woman fires at person or persons unknown and disappears into the night. You gotta admit, that's pretty bad copy. Seriously, did you shoot at somebody?
I really don't know what to say, Glenn. If I was sure that I could trust you.
You got a better candidate?
No.
Well, then.
Well, it's the situation. It's very complicated.
But hadn't you better explain it? And not only to me.
Oh, I fully intend to go to the police sooner or later.
Uh-huh. By the way, if you keep wearing that little item, they're going to catch up with you sooner or later. Why did you get in touch with me?
Because I needed you. I need your help.
But why me?
Got a better candidate? Couldn't we go someplace quieter,
More private?
please?
Sure. But then we go to the police.
Yes.
Okay. I think we'd better go out the back way.
Why?
A friend of mine just came in. Oh, he's a rather starchy character. You wouldn't like him.
Why not?
He's a policeman.
Oh, Glenn, my cape.
Oh, okay. He spotted me. Now listen, the car's out front. The address is on the keychain, okay? Good girl, come on.
You trying to avoid me, Ben?
Well, as a matter of fact, yes. I'm feeling kind of bushed. I didn't want to be quizzed.
We just received a report that a lady in a checkered cape was seen entering here.
Giving her quite a run, isn't she?
Oh. Would you mind stepping aside?
What for?
I'd like to take a look out there.
Out there?
Yes, out there. Thank you.
I will never again call you Pear Blossom. Well, feel in the mood for a little something to keep the mildew out?
No, thanks, Glenn, but I am in the mood for a little chat. Would you like to come down to my office?
I guess I don't have any choice, huh?
We got a report on the gun from the cartridges. A 7.65 millimeter Mauser. A perfectly nasty weapon for a woman to be carrying about. Tell me, Glenn, what else do you know about this Vera Graham?
Now, Neil, you've already asked me that. I don't know anything but her name. Period.
We found this caught up in some refuse under the dock, a handbag. The initials AF, containing the usual feminine accessories, and a passport case. Now we have not only a couple of shots being fired at the dock, but also a possible victim, Anne Forbes.
Isn't she the daughter of the American doctor in Najapur?
Edmund Forbes.
The one who's accused of assassinating the minister?
His trial is set for the day after tomorrow.
So soon, huh?
The anti-American factions demanded a summary trial. The best time for a propaganda coup is on a wave of indignation.
You'd think she'd want to be with her father at a time like this. Now, what's she doing in Hong Kong?
That's what I was hoping you would tell me.
Now, Neil, I don't know anything about Anne Forbes.
Glenn, I hope you realize the tremendous international significance of Dr. Forbes' forthcoming trial.
Well, of course I do, and if I knew anything, I'd tell you. You know that.
And you can start by telling me where I might find Vera Graham.
Now, look, I'm not sure, but I've got a pretty fair idea where she is. Now, wait a... Now, just hold on a minute. I think she trusts me a little bit, and I think it'd be a good idea if I had a little talk with her before you start barreling in.
Oh, that's most irregular, old boy.
Oh, now, Chief Inspector Campbell, sir. You haven't got anything on the girl. She fired a couple of shots. She disturbed the peace on a deserted pier. You haven't got a victim in any shape or form.
No, we're still looking.
Look, if this thing is as big as you suspect, maybe a few minutes alone with her and I can shed some light on it, huh?
All right. But you call me as soon as you finish talking with her. I'm going off duty now. You can reach me at my apartment. I'll arrange to have somebody pick her up. Agreed?
Agreed.
didn't expect you so soon.
My friend found me rather dull company.
I hope you don't mind.
No.
Your bath looked irresistible.
And the Scots?
I needed both. How do you take yours?
Just as it comes.
How very Spartan of you.
Well, this is a very domestic little scene. Before we get too comfortable, I think we'd better have a little talk. The police are dragging the harbor for a possible victim.
I think you'd better have this first.
Cheers.
Cũng ngồi mà can chị cười đó. Hồi đó có cái Edmund apartment,佢成個喺嗰時。
Haji Evans, they can bang Yoji. Well, your Miss Graham arrived on the midnight ferry from Macau. She's being sought by the police.
The police? What for?
Seems she may have shot somebody.
What are you trying to prove, boss?
Trying to... Mr. Tyndall, I assure you...
Look, for your information, that piece of film she's carrying is worthless without the other negative.
I understand that, of course.
Yeah, now, what else did your boy have to say?
Glenn Evans, a newspaper reporter, is somehow involved. Your Miss Graham has found refuge in his apartment.
Where do I find this apartment?
Since you have solicited my support, why not allow me to call on him? You see, we are acquainted after a fashion.
Okay. But no tricks.
My dear Tyndall, at some time during our association, you are going to have to trust me.
I've made it a practice not to trust anybody. I found it to be good business.
I suppose the best way to start, Glenn, is by telling you I came to Hong Kong to be married. I was bringing something to my fiancé, something very valuable.
What was it?
I don't know. It was in a sealed envelope.
What? Well, you don't have the envelope anymore?
No.
Well, what happened to it? Did somebody take it away from you?
She was waiting for me at the dock when the ferry got in. I tried to slip through the crowd.
She? Well, who's she? Don't you know? It's another one of your mysterious secrets. When are you going to loosen up and let me know what's going on? You introduced me to this mystery, you know. I have a right.
Glenn, there are some things I just can't tell you.
That's the understatement of the year. Do the initials AF mean anything to you?
No.
Ann Forbes? No?
No.
I'll bet that's our starchy friend, Inspector Campbell. If he sees you dressed like this, he'll never believe my motives. Come on. Oh, wait.
Oh, I am sorry, Glenn.
It's pretty tardy sentiment. Go and get your clothes on.
Good evening, Mr. Evans. A young woman in whom I have an interest was seen to enter your apartment. She is being sought by the police. I thought you ought to know.
Did you? Well, thanks a lot. Now get out.
Why not let me turn her in? Why involve yourself in something...
Maybe because you're involved, and because you are, it must be rotten, Borg. Now get out.
A gun, Mr. Evans? You know the strictly enforced laws here in Hong Kong against carrying a gun?
I heard of this tonight. Looks like it might come in handy. Now get out.
The moment I leave here, I can telephone the police.
Oh, come on. If you want to call the police, use my phone. You're not on such good terms with the police. Get out.
You know, I am not ungenerous with those who cooperate with me.
Out.
Come on. Very well, Coy. with her, Mr. Evans. I have means of finding out where she is. Why not save yourself a lot of trouble and tell me where she has gone?
Look, I don't know where she's gone. Get your gorilla and get out of here.
I thought you were going to call me.
You got the busiest phone in town. Thought I'd better come over in person.
What happened to your hand?
I got it stepped on a little.
Broken?
Yeah, these two fingers. Look, I got some bad news for you.
If you're going to say what I think you're going to say...
I'm sorry. While I was collecting this, Miss Graham skipped out.
Why I ever let a newspaper man get involved in police affairs is beyond me.
That's not all the bad news I bear. Mr. Everybody's friend Alec Borg is mixed up in this somewhere.
Borg? How?
I don't know. He and his handyman came to my place looking for Miss Graham. I answered the door because I thought it was you checking up on her.
You let him in and you let Miss Graham out.
She let herself out the back way.
I'm a blasted fool for letting you talk me into this private rendezvous.
I'll tell you something else for sure. If Alec Borg is mixed up in this, it ain't for peanuts.
Did you get anything at all out of her before she left?
What? She was evidently bringing an envelope to Hong Kong to give to her fiancé. It was something very valuable. She didn't know what it was. Ann Forbes tried to intercept her, and an arrest, your guess is as good as mine.
What happened to the envelope?
I don't know. Ann Forbes maybe took a swim with it.
Her fiancé, did she name him?
No.
You're slipping, old boy. Yes. Yes, Mr. Really? Where? I'll be there as soon as I change. Good night, Glenn.
What was that
I'll
all
call you
about?
when I need you. Good morning, sir.
Hello.
Mr. Ling, our friend Mr. Evans looks as if he could use a nice hot cup of tea. Would you see to it, please?
Thank you.
Thought you were going to call me.
If I needed you.
Oh.
Then I should think you'd be glad to wash your hands of this Vera Graham affair.
Well, I must admit I've got my scars, but I was kind of wondering what's been going on.
You needn't be concerned about Miss Graham's welfare any longer.
You better translate that.
Recognize this?
It belongs to our Miss Graham. You seem to be making a habit of collecting women's accessories.
You might need these.
Thank you.
Miss Graham surrendered to a police officer a half block from your apartment last night.
That was the phone call.
She not only gave herself up, but she also confessed to the murder of Ann Forbes.
What? I don't get it. Why would she confess? I was with her last night. She didn't seem to be carrying any great burden of guilt.
What I want to know is why she's in Hong Kong and why Ann Forbes was waiting for her at the dock.
Ask her.
She refuses to tell me.
What else was in the bag?
What else should there be?
Nothing. Just wonder why there wasn't a passport.
Oh, she claimed to have lost it.
Did she say why she killed Ann Forbes?
Self-defense.
Did she explain that?
I'm afraid not. I questioned her for almost an hour this morning. Beyond the confession, I got nothing out of her.
Doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't.
Let me talk to her.
Oh, I'm sorry, Glenn.
You're not getting anywhere with her.
No, I'm not allowing Vera Graham to have any visitors.
Listen, I think I still have an edge with this girl. And with this Dr. Forbes trial coming up tomorrow. Huh?
All right. Mr. Ling, will you show Mr. Evans to Miss Graham's cell, please? Hope you had better luck than I had.
Don't drink my tea.
Oh, thanks, Doctor.
It's okay.
Although Miss Graham claimed she fired in self-defense, the CID communique stated she had not yet disclosed the reasons beyond the alleged attack by Ann Forbes. It is believed, however, that the affair is in some way connected with the forthcoming trial of Dr. Edmund Forbes, since both women were present at the scene of the assassination. Now, a word about the envelope she was carrying. You know, I wonder if sweet little Vera made a deal with the police.
I don't think so. I think your worries are unfounded, Tyndall. Obviously, the police don't have that envelope. And a discovery so intriguing would have come to my attention. I think somehow she contrived to protect you and your secret before she surrendered.
Yeah, how?
She met an attractive newspaperman on the ferry, whom she used rather shamelessly in her hour of need.
Evans.
Do you suppose she could have hidden that envelope in his apartment?
Well, why don't we just bust in there and turn the place upside down till we find it?
Tyndall. It's possible she could have hidden it somewhere else. No, we shall retrieve that envelope quietly and unobtrusively when Miss Graham tells us where she hid it. I've already sent someone out to get that information.
I'd appreciate an interview with Miss Graham immediately, Inspector.
She's entitled to call in counsel, Mr. Fless, but she hasn't designated you. Or any solicitor, for that matter.
I've been retained by the young lady's friends.
Friends, Mr. Fless?
Sorry, I'm not at liberty to name them. Now, if you'll be good enough to send my card in to Miss Graham.
If you'll be good enough to wait outside, please.
Thank you very much, Inspector.
Will you come in, please, Mr. Lee?
Yes, sir.
Take this card down to the prisoner, Mr. Lee.
Yes, sir. You know, if they ever have a contest of patience, remind me to send in my box top.
Glenn, I am
Look,
sorry.
you came to me in the Golden Dragon last night. You said you needed my help. Okay, since then I've been playing hopscotch with the police. I've been roughed up pretty good by a judo expert. Not to mention a sleepless night worrying about you and what had happened to you. I finally think I've combed you out of my hair, and here I am the next morning at your side. Why, I keep asking myself.
Glenn, if you'd just be patient a little while longer, you'll understand.
Understand what? Your confession? Look, I don't buy this. Why would you confess to a murder you didn't have to confess to?
Glenn, please stop asking me these questions. Don't you think I have good reasons for what I'm doing?
You may have, but why don't you tell me about them?
If you just give me a little bit more time, I'll tell you everything. And you'll approve. I know you will.
Why? Because you say so.
Glenn, look, I just can't tell you now. Please try to understand. I just can't.
All right. Well, I want to tell you this, though, Vera. I put together a few pieces since last night. Before this day's over, I'm going to have the whole story anyway.
Glenn, please, you've got to promise me that you won't go any further in this. There's a great deal more at stake than you can possibly know.
Now, look, so far, everything's been on your terms. I'm a newspaper man, Vera. If this thing's that big, I want to be in when it breaks.
And don't you care who you hurt in your stories, or are people just newsprint to you?
You came to me, remember?
What can I say to you?
You could start with the truth. I'm going to find it out anyway, even without your cooperation.
And what will you do with your truth when you find it? I'll tell you, you just destroy everything that I've done. And when you learn why I've done it, you're never going to forgive yourself, Glenn. Never as long as you live.
You have another visitor, miss, sent by a friend of yours.
All right, I'll see you.
Anything?
No, nothing. I struck out. Alec Borg's favorite mouthpiece. What's he doing here?
Mr. Fless declined to name the man who sent him.
Yeah. She'll see him, sir.
Very well, take it down.
Guess I didn't miss anything at your press conference this morning, huh?
Nothing you don't know now.
Come here, Neil. Our little girl doesn't want to talk, and she doesn't want to be seen either, does she? What do you make of that?
They sent your card down. Did Mr. Tyndall retain you?
In a manner of speaking.
Yes or no?
What does it matter? The important thing is that I'm here to help you.
Inspector, would you show this gentleman out, please?
Give me one more moment, Miss Graham. In your own interest.
All right.
You're very wise to be cautious. But I can assure you that I'm here to do everything possible in your behalf.
You haven't answered my question.
Very well. I'm retained by a Mr. Alec Borg. Your fiancé and Mr. Borg are associated in the business of the photograph. By the way, Mr. Tyndall sends his regrets that he could not come personally.
I didn't expect him. He'd be foolish to expose himself. His background wouldn't bear police scrutiny.
Very sensible attitude.
Who is Alec Borg?
An influential man who specializes in, shall we say, difficult transactions. Now, Miss Graham, I'm instructed to ask you where you hid the envelope. Time is growing short. Mr. Borg is anxious to contact the prospective buyers.
Tell you, Mr. Borg, I'll be happy to deliver the envelope in person.
But how is that possible? I mean, here you are, aren't you? Locked up.
Get me released. I understand they haven't recovered Ann Forbes' body.
That is true, but...
Well, then there's no evidence of murder.
But you confessed.
They forced me into certain admissions, but I didn't sign anything.
Most artful, Miss Graham.
Thank you.
If you claimed your rest, deny everything, yes, perhaps I can get you released on bail.
Otherwise, Mr. Fless, I'll have to make the best possible deal with the police.
You realize, of course, that you'll be rearrested the moment the body is found.
A lot of things can be settled before that happens.
But I assure you, Mr. Borg, I did my best, but she is adamant. Yes, there is a possibility that I could get her released, but it may take more time than you have. Very well, sir. I understand.
Graham, you're free to go anywhere you like, so long as you don't leave the colony.
I understand, Inspector.
Where will we be able to reach you?
Well, I'm not sure. I'll have to find a place to stay.
You'll let us know.
Of course. Oh, Inspector, do you know where Mr. Evans is tonight?
He said something about going out on the town.
Well, if you should see him... Never mind. Good night, Inspector.
Good night, Miss Graham.
We shall need your shop for about an hour, old man.
So that last book yet?
You know, I still don't know why we have to meet in a joint like this.
I've used this establishment before. A transaction of this nature must be carried out in neutral territory. I can't understand what is keeping her. She was released by the police about an hour ago.
Don't worry, she'll be here.
Perhaps we should have picked her up and stayed with her. Do you suppose she's having trouble with Evans?
Not if I know Vera. And what about your people, the information agency people?
They're understandably very cautious, my dear Tyndall. They will be here as soon as your material is complete. I shall call them the moment Miss Graham arrives with the second half of the negative.
Here, Borg. You can get in touch with your people now.
I think we had better see the negative first. In my position, there is no margin for error.
What'd I tell you about her, Borg, huh? Didn't I tell you Vera can be trusted?
No, Mr. Tyndall, not Vera Graham. She ran out on you. I guess she couldn't stand to see an innocent man condemned to death for something that he didn't do.
I don't understand. You mean that you...
Ann Forbes. Dr. Forbes is my father. Now, if you just hand over that negative, Mr. Tyndall.
Doesn't work. This isn't a negative I left Vera. Where's the real one?
I don't know.
Maybe we'd better start at the beginning, young lady. Why?
I want to know why you impersonated Vera Graham. Why you pretended that you were the murderess.
Come on, answer the man's questions.
I knew Vera was supposed to meet Mr. Tyndall in Hong Kong. I just didn't know where. Hong Kong's a big city. There was very little time.
Go on.
When he didn't come to meet me at the dock, I knew my only chance to get the other half of the negative was to force him to find me.
By getting Vera Graham's name on the front page of every newspaper in Hong Kong, but not her face. Very ingenious.
I still don't get it.
She knew you wouldn't dare to go to the police. She knew you would contact her through somebody else, somebody who wouldn't recognize her. I could use more people like you, Miss Forbes.
No, I want to know what happened to that negative. Who switched it?
I don't know.
Better try very hard to remember. Now, you didn't have it with you in jail. Did you leave it in Evans' apartment?
Yes.
You know where you hid it?
No.
Wait a minute, hold it. Now, don't you start that again, Fatso. I just want to talk. You should have trusted me, honey. A little scheme might have worked. Okay, Borg, you win. We'll all go to my apartment. We'll give you the film, then nobody gets hurt. Okay?
Okay, Borg. Take the lady to your car. I'll need Fuji for a minute.
Remember, Tito, I detest violence.
Not you! That's right, Evans. It's all yours, Fuji.
I think I'll leave now, Fuji. Oh, by the way, I forgot to tell you, I took the bullets out of that gun.
see you got here all right, huh?
And I see you got here all wrong, old boy. Your part in this was supposed to be finished when you switched the negative. I was to take over from there, remember?
Oh, now you can't blame me for wanting to see how things turned out, now can you? Besides, I knew your man was on the job.
You know, I ought to lock you up for interfering in police affairs again.
But you won't, will you? Besides, I know the whole story, you know. You don't.
I'm sure Miss Forbes will be glad to enlighten me. She's on her way to headquarters right now with Mr. Borg and Mr. Tyndall.
And what are we waiting for? After you.
After you. Quiet, gentlemen, please. Gentlemen, if you'll be quiet, I'll give you not only a statement, but also a photograph. Miss Forbes came to Hong Kong to get the other half of the negative, which proves without question her father's innocence. And this photograph that Mr. Ling has just handed to you clearly reveals the real assassin. The Najapur police have examined this photograph and have expressed their regrets. Dr. Forbes will be arriving here in Hong Kong by plane within the hour. Please, Dr. Forbes has specifically requested that there be no photographers or reporters at the airport. Tomorrow he'll arrange a press conference for all of you.
I'm sorry, Glenn. I did so much want you to meet him today. If only to show you why I had to tell all those lies.
Well, I must admit I haven't quite forgiven you for not trusting me. If I knew who you were and what you were doing, I might have tried to...
Oh, I'm sorry to interrupt. If you're ready, Miss Forbes, I'll step to the car.
I'm ready, Inspector.
Mr. Ling, do you have them send a car around, please? You're going to the airport.
I'd hate to leave Hong Kong without finishing that scotch we started.
Perhaps after the press conference.
How was it you liked it?
Just as it comes.
Just as it comes.